In a world of immortal cultivation, how do you survive when you lack God, tier talent, have no powerful backing, and find yourself at the very bottom of a sect? Good evening, friends. Tonight, we travel deep into the Qingyun Mountains to the Qingyun Sect, where we will experience the daily life of an ordinary outer disciple. Don't worry, you aren't alone here. You'll have spirit pets by your side and a loyal friend for company. In this seemingly lowly life, there lies a hidden, healing rhythm to the everyday. May you all shed the restlessness of the mortal world and find a sense of peace and belonging. If you're ready to begin tonight's journey toward immortality, type "My fate is mine" to command in the comments. Now, let the sound of the bell relax your body and follow me into this mist-shrouded immortal realm. The Qingyun Sect is nestled deep within the rolling Qingyun Mountains, where 72 peaks are perpetually draped in veil. Like mist and shimmering immortal qi, outer disciples are as numerous as the stars, bustling along bluestone paths, some rushing to the martial arena with swords on their backs, others carrying herb baskets toward the spirit grass garden. You are just one of the many, an ordinary soul among the masses. You weren't born with extraordinary spiritual roots. You couldn't be like the elite disciples who were hand-picked and mentored by elders the moment they joined without a prestigious family or a benefactor. You couldn't use rare spiritual materials to rapidly stack your cultivation levels. Instead, you rely on the grade -3 wood spirit, root discovered by chance 3 years ago. With nothing but a thread of persistence and grit, you barely managed to step onto this path of seeking the Tao. Your home is a small bamboo hut, less than 20 feet wide. You personally named it the Qingyun Cabin. Over time, the bamboo walls have soaked in the years, turning a warm, gentle yellow. The bamboo tiles on the roof are neatly arranged, often shimmering with crystalline water droplets after a rain. In front of the house, you've cleared a tiny garden plot to grow Dew-Condensing Grass, which you nurtured yourself. This is the most common low-grade spirit plant, with thick, succulent leaves of a tender green. When the morning sun hits, droplets of condensed spiritual energy hang from the leaves like translucent pearls. They roll off at the slightest touch, easy to grow and perfect for calming the mind. It is the most popular plant among outer disciples. Behind the house lies a small bamboo grove. The stalks stand tall and the foliage is lush. When the wind blows, the leaves rustle like gentle whispers. Perched on the branches are a few Cloud-Fluff Sparrows, slightly smaller than a common sparrow. Their feathers are a blend of misty blue and snow, white, as fluffy as clumps of crumbled clouds. Their chirping is crisp and clear, sounding like a string of tiny silver bells against your ear. Utterly delightful to hear. Just as dawn breaks and a faint fish, belly white, appears on the eastern horizon, the mountain mists have yet to scatter, carrying a clean, refreshing chill. You rise from the prayer mat spread on the floor. That mat was issued to you when you first joined the sect. It has long since become smooth and warm from use, still retaining a faint trace of the spiritual energy left behind from your daily cultivation. Though cultivators can practice bigu, fasting by swallowing a fasting pill, a smooth, round, pale, white marble that can stave off hunger for days, you find it lacks soul. It tastes bland, and when chewed, releases only a tiny wisp of spiritual qi, much like an emergency ration in the real world. Convenient, but missing the warmth of life. You've always felt that a warm bowl of spiritual rice, porridge in the morning, is far more comforting. It fuels the stomach, nourishes the body with the rice's energy, and provides a small sense of solace in the busy life of a cultivator. You lift the lid of the clay pot simmering on the stove. You traded for this pot at the outer sect warehouse, and the bottom still bears the marks of use inside. The pearly spiritual rice has already boiled into a soft, sticky porridge, the broth a faint milky white. You grab a handful of chopped azure spirit leaves from a bamboo basket, tender green leaves that add aroma and help nourish your spiritual energy, and toss them in. With a few gentle stirs of the spoon, a rich fragrance instantly fills the small bamboo hut, blending the sweetness of the rice with the freshness of the herbs. It's deeply heartening. This spiritual rice is your monthly ration from the warehouse. The yield is low. Each grain is plump, translucent, and imbued with the spiritual energy of the mountains. The resulting porridge is soft and delicious, capable of slowly strengthening your weak internal energy. It is one of the most precious food items for an outer disciple. Usually, you eat sparingly, but in the mornings, you allow yourself an extra handful to make the porridge thick and rich. As soon as the aroma wafts out of the hut, a few brave Cloud-Fluff Sparrows follow the scent and land softly on the windowsill. Their wings flutter so lightly they make almost no sound. As if afraid to disturb you, they tilt their tiny heads, peering into the pot with bright, black grape eyes, full of curiosity and longing. They aren't afraid of you at all. After all, they've followed you for a long time. They know your temperament and know you'd never hurt them. In fact, you often feed them grains of spiritual rice. Smiling, you set down your spoon and pinch 2 plump grains of spiritual rice from the pot. With a gentle flick of your finger, the grains drift slowly toward the window. A few Cloud-Fluff Sparrows immediately flutter their downy wings, catching them mid-air with agile precision. They land on the windowsill and begin to peck away in tiny bites, their little beaks moving rhythmically. They look so soft and round, the very definition of adorable. Once they finish their meal, they tilt their tiny heads and let out a soft, sweet chirp toward you. A tender, doughy sound that seems to say, "Thank you." Occasionally, they'll even give the windowsill a light pat with their tiny wings, as if acting spoiled and seeking your affection. As you are feeding them, a series of light yet hurried footsteps echo from outside the courtyard gate. The rhythmic tap, tap tap carries the unmistakable brashness of a youth. Moments later, the bright, slightly boastful voice of a Chen rings out. "Hey, are you cooking spiritual rice porridge again? I could smell that fragrance from several paths away. It's certainly a world better than those hard, to-swallow fasting pills." You turn to look and see a Chen standing there with a standard iron sword strapped to his back, his scabbard still clinging to bits of dirt and grass clippings. Clearly, he's just passing by after practicing his forms in the mountains. His clothes are slightly damp, clinging to his back, and fine beads of sweat trail down his cheeks to drip onto his collar. He doesn't seem to care in the slightest. He remains a picture of boundless energy, his eyes full of the exhilaration that follows a good sword session. He possesses a fire spirit root, making him impatient and impulsive in everything he does. His talent is a bit better than yours. He is already nearing the 4th layer of Qi condensation, just a step away from a breakthrough. His greatest obsession is the sword. Every day before dawn, he heads into the mountains to practice for hours on end. He always complains that tending to spirit plants is too tedious and a waste of time. Yet he can't help but drift over to hang out with you. Perhaps he feels that being in your company helps wash away the restlessness brought on by his intense training. So, you're allowed to wake up early every day for sword practice, but I'm not allowed to brew a bowl of warm porridge. You tease with a smile. You pick up a coarse ceramic bowl from the side, ladle out a serving of steaming porridge, and hold it out to him. The aroma is intoxicating, and a Chen's eyes light up at the sight. Still, his mouth mumbles awkwardly. Who wants to eat this mortal-style food? A swordsman like me gets by just fine on fasting pills. His body, however, is much more honest. He reaches out, takes the bowl, and begins to gulp it down. As the broth drips from the corner of his mouth, he doesn't even bother to wipe it away, saying mid-chew, "It's okay. A little worse than the spirit rice cakes at the cafeteria. Next time, throw in 2 more handfuls of rice and some minced spirit mushrooms. Then, it'll definitely be better." The Cloud-Fluff Sparrows on the windowsill are startled by his boisterous energy and take flight, circling once before boldly landing on his shoulder. One rubs its soft little head against his cheek, its feathers tickling his skin. A Chen's body freezes instantly. A faint, barely noticeable blush creeps onto his face, and he stands there flustered for a few seconds, caught between the awkwardness of the moment and the guilt of shooing it away. Finally, he just turns his face away stubbornly and grumbles. "Why is this little thing always pestering you? And now, it won't even leave me alone. What a nuisance." After finishing breakfast, a Chen hands the empty bowl back to you, wipes the traces of porridge from his mouth, and pats his stomach, his usual vitality fully restored. He lifts his chin toward you with an air of certainty. "I'm heading back to the martial arena for a bit more practice. I'm going to break through to the 4th layer as soon as possible. Maybe I'll even figure out a more powerful fire attribute sword move." Before leaving, he doesn't forget to point a finger at you, offering a serious reminder. "I'll come find you at the spirit grass garden this afternoon once I'm tired. Don't you dare slack off and sneak into the bamboo grove for a nap instead of tending the plants." You let out a helpless laugh and nod. "Understood. I won't slack off. But don't push yourself too hard with your practice. Be careful not to let your spiritual energy become disordered and damage your meridians." A Chen waves a hand, sounding utterly unconcerned. "Don't worry. I know what I am doing." With that, he strides away with his iron sword, his footsteps fading into the distance. Occasionally, you can still hear the whistle of his blade cutting through the air, carrying the sharp, fierce edge of a fire spirit root. With a smile, you tidy up the bowls and chopsticks, wipe down the stove, and pick up the neatly woven bamboo herb basket from the corner. You wove this basket yourself. The bamboo strips are smooth to the touch, and you've even carved tiny leaf patterns into them. You shoulder your small, polished hoe. Its wooden handle has grown smooth and warm over time, seasoned by your grip and carrying your familiar scent. After locking the door of your bamboo hut, you make your way toward the spirit grass garden on the back mountain of the sect. Your assigned duty is to tend to a patch of low-grade spirit herbs on the garden's outermost edge. Besides the Dew-Condensing Grass you grow at home, there are clear, heart grass and cloud, accompanying flowers. These are common, worthless varieties. Yet they require meticulous daily care, watering, weeding, and deworming. You cannot afford to be careless. The overseer of the spirit grass garden is a kind-faced old cultivator named Joe. Everyone respectfully calls him Uncle Joe. His hair is silver, white, tied in a simple bun, and he wears a faded blue Taoist robe, always holding a small bamboo rake. He strolls slowly through the garden, checking the progress of the plants. Whenever a disciple is confused, he offers patient guidance, often saying with heartfelt earnestness, "Seeking the Tao is like raising grass. You cannot rush it, and you must not be restless. Quality comes from slow, careful work. Only with daily watering and devoted care can the spirit grass grow strong. Cultivation is the same. Only through steady accumulation and keeping your feet on the ground can you move forward step by step, going steadier and further." The spirit grass garden is livelier and more vibrant than any other part of the sect. Everywhere you look, lush, verdant spirit herbs grow in abundance. When the wind blows, they sway gently, creating ripples of green. The air is thick with a rich herbal fragrance that refreshes the soul and makes your entire body feel at ease. A few cloud, Cloud-Fluff Sparrows hop between the leaves, their tiny claws treading lightly, so as not to damage the delicate plants. They are there to peck at the tiny insects hiding on the undersides of the leaves, pests that, while small, would otherwise suck the spiritual energy from the herbs and stunt their growth. Over time, these sparrows have become the little helpers of the garden, and the disciples treat them with great affection. You lift your hand and let out a soft whistle. Several Cloud-Fluff Sparrows immediately stop what they're doing and flutter their fluffy wings, landing steadily on your forearm. Their little bodies are soft and warm. They nuzzle your fingertips with their downy heads and gently peck at the gaps between your fingers, as if begging for the spirit seeds you keep hidden there. Laughing, you take a small handful of dried seeds from your basket and place them in your palm for them to feast on. You gently scratch their tiny chins, and they immediately squint their eyes in bliss, letting out soft, satisfied chirps that sound like they are acting spoiled. Occasionally, they'll even give your wrist a playful tap with their wings. They are truly the cutest sight. In a shallow pool nearby, a palm-sized spirit stream turtle lies resting. The spring water is crystal clear, revealing smooth pebbles at the bottom and the occasional tiny spirit fish darting about with playful energy. The turtle's shell is a pale cyan, green naturally adorned with faint cloud patterns as delicate as a professional painting. It feels warm and smooth to the touch, yet carries the refreshing chill of the spring water. Its limbs are tiny and a tender yellow. It moves at a leisurely, stop, and go pace, looking completely detached from the world, as if the clamor of the mortal realm has nothing to do with it. It is a long-term resident of the garden. Uncle Joe says this turtle has been here for nearly 100 years, older than many of the outer disciples. It has the gentlest temperament and never hides from people. Even if someone leans in close, it just blinks its eyes slowly and occasionally pokes out its head to blow a string of tiny bubbles. The bubbles float gently on the water, making a soft pop when they burst. It's incredibly endearing. What's even more magical is that, as long as the turtle stays in the pool, the spring water emits a very faint green glow. The spiritual energy becomes denser, flowing with the water to the roots of the nearby spirit herbs, nourishing them and making the surrounding greenery grow fresher and more robust. Because of this, Uncle Joe and the disciples take extra care of the spirit stream turtle, never disturbing it unnecessarily. It simply stays there, peacefully, and warmly accompanying the disciples through their quiet days of labor. You squat between the ridges of the field, carefully parting the leaves of the spirit herbs to search for hidden weeds. These weeds look similar in color to the spirit plants, but they possess no spiritual energy. Their leaves are dry and coarse, and they greedily steal nutrients and water. If not removed in time, the spirit herbs will struggle, their leaves turning yellow or even withering. Your movements are gentle and focused, fearful of bruising a single delicate leaf. As your fingertips touch the thick leaves of the Dew-Condensing Grass, you can clearly feel a faint, thin stream of spiritual energy flowing within. It feels like a tiny warm current passing through your fingertips and into your body, bringing a sense of comfort to your entire being. With your wood spirit root, you are a natural kin to all green things, as if you possess the secret language of plants. Even the most inconspicuous weed cannot hide from you. You can tell it apart from a spirit herb at a single glance. Perhaps it's the intuition of your spirit root, or perhaps it's the expertise honed through days of repetitive care. Either way, you never make a mistake. Sunlight filters through the gaps in the canopy above the garden, splashing across the back of your hands and shoulders in dancing patches of warmth. Along with the sunlight, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth flows into your meridians, moving like a tiny gentle stream, soft, rhythmic, and unceasing. Though the current is faint, it never stops nourishing the spiritual essence within you. It wasn't long before a Chen grew weary of his practice, and true to his word came to find you. He still carried that iron sword, his clothes even more soaked than they were this morning. Clinging to his frame, beads of sweat rolled down his cheeks and dripped onto the earth. Though his face bore the exhaustion of training, his eyes still flickered with that irrepressible spark of vitality. He plopped down onto a stone by the pond, wiped the sweat from his brow, and was instantly captivated by the spirit stream turtle. His eyes filled with curiosity. With his typical impulsive nature, he leaned in and reached out to touch the turtle's shell. His movements were quick and sharp, his fingertips still carrying a trace of the hostile aura. Lychee left over from practicing his fire attribute sword forms, startled by the sudden motion and the aggressive energy. The spirit stream turtle immediately pulled its tiny head, limbs, and tail into its shell. It transformed into a smooth, silent green stone, playing dead to avoid danger. "Hey, why did you hide again?" Achin scratched his head, looking at the turtle with a mix of helplessness and confusion. "I'm not going to hurt you. I just wanted to pet you. Do you really have to be this timid?" You let out a soft laugh, set down your small hoe, and brushed the dirt from your clothes. Stepping over, you knelt beside him and gently touched the turtle's shell with your fingertip. Your voice was soft, as if coaxing a child. "Slow down. It scares easily. You're too impatient, and your fire element aura is too restless. This little one loves tranquility. Of course it's going to be afraid of you." As you spoke, you took a plump spirit seed from your palm and placed it gently by the edge of the shell. You stayed there, crouching quietly, waiting with patient silence. After a moment, the spirit stream turtle seemed to sense your kindness and realize the danger had passed. It slowly poked out its tiny head, peering cautiously at you, and then at Achin. After a few seconds of hesitation, it began to peck at the seed with its tiny beak. Its movements were clumsy, slow, and utterly endearing. Achin watched the scene with wide-eyed wonder. Mimicking you, he slowed his movements, carefully raising his hand to touch the shell. As his fingertips brushed against the natural cloud patterns, he whispered in surprise, "I didn't expect this little guy to be so shy. Even more than the Cloud-Fluff Sparrows. It feels so smooth and soft, in a way. It's actually quite nice." You couldn't help but tease him. "That's because you're too hot. Headed. With that fierce fire aura of yours, it's only natural it fears you." He gave a defiant huff, defending himself with a frown. "I'm not mean. I was just too focused on my sword practice and didn't control my aura properly. That's all." Despite his grumbling, he softened his movements. No longer reckless, he sat beside you and quietly helped you pull weeds. Occasionally, he'd clumsily hand you your hoe, having never tended to plants before. He was quite awkward. Several times he mistook the Dew-Condensing Grass for weeds and was about to pull them out. Seeing this, you quickly laughed and swatted his hand away. "You silly goose. That's the spirit grass, not a weed. If you pull that, I'll make you help me weed the garden for an entire day as punishment." Achin's face flushed slightly as he scratched his head in embarrassment, letting out a sheepish chuckle. My bad. I can't tell them apart. I'll look closer next time, I promise." He leaned in close to the plants, studying the Dew-Condensing Grass intently, as if trying to memorize every detail, so he wouldn't fail again. Occasionally, other disciples would pass by. They'd stop to wave and greet you with warm, friendly voices. Sometimes staying for a bit of small talk across from your section was a gentle female disciple with delicate features and a serene temperament. She possessed a pure water spirit root and was a master of irrigation. The spirit herbs she raised were always the freshest and most robust, their leaves brimming with spiritual energy. She often came over to share her secrets on plant care, teaching you how to better control water levels, prevent pests, and sharing little tricks she had discovered through her own cultivation. You have no high-level cultivation methods, No precious magical artifacts. When you gather together, your talk is simply of the spirit grass sprouting new leaves or budding flowers, of how the sect cafeteria's new spirit, fruit cakes are delightfully sweet, of that tiny fleeting wisp of spiritual energy you felt during last night's meditation, or how a certain Cloud-Fluff Sparrow sneakily snatched spirit rice from the storehouse and led the disciple in charge on a hilarious chase. A Chen always chimes in with stories from the martial arena, describing with grand gestures how he figured out a new sword move yesterday, one where tiny sparks actually fly from his fingertips. As he speaks, he might even swing his sword a couple of times. The sword, chi sweeps across the ground, leaving faint singe marks that make the sparrows in the trees flap their wings and chirp in a boisterous cheer. By noon, the sun grows stronger, its rays turning scorching, the patches of light filtering through the leaves become dazzling, and the spiritual energy in the garden seems to thicken under the heat, carrying a heavy warmth. You put away your hoe, brush the dirt from your clothes, and walk over to rest under the ancient locust tree at the edge of the garden. The tree is lush and sprawling, its dense foliage acting like a giant green umbrella that blocks the burning sun, creating a sanctuary of cool shade beneath. You pull from your robe a copy of the Qingyun Basic Breath Refinement Manual. Every outer disciple gets one upon entry. The cover is worn and faded from constant use, and the pages are filled with your handwritten insights scribbled in the margins. The manual is simple and easy to understand, yet it is the most solid foundation, the key to building one's path. Sitting cross-legged on the grass, you adjust your posture and slowly regulate your breathing according to the mantras. Closing your eyes, you draw the mountain's spiritual energy into your body bit by bit, letting it circulate through your meridians. The energy is thin and moves incredibly slowly, like a snail's pace. In 3 years, you've barely reached the 3rd layer of qi condensation. You still have a long way to go to reach the 5th layer required for inner sect status, but you've never felt discouraged. Without you noticing, the spirit stream turtle has crawled over from the pond. It moves slowly across the ridges of the field and comes to a halt by your feet, gently resting its tiny head against the tip of your shoe. It stays there perfectly still, as if it, too, is meditating with you, sensing the rhythm of heaven and earth. Its shell is lukewarm, carrying the clean scent of vegetation and spring water. That coolness seeps through your shoe and into your body, bringing a profound sense of security. Your once restless mind gradually settles into a deep calm. A Chen leans against the trunk of the locust tree, munching on a spirit fruit he picked up during his morning practice. It's sweet and juicy. As he eats, he watches you meditate with a softened gaze. He doesn't say a word. He only occasionally reaches out to shoo away a stray insect hovering near your head. His movements are surprisingly gentle, a stark contrast to his usual impulsive nature. The Cloud-Fluff Sparrows on the branches seem to know the rules, too. They stop their noisy chirping and settle quietly on the limbs, some preening their fluffy feathers, others dozing with squinted eyes, accompanying you through this tranquil noon hour. But you are never in a rush, and you never feel inferior. You know deep down that on the path to the Tao, those with extraordinary talent are the few. Most are like you, ordinary people without the blessing of genius, who must move forward one steady footprint at a time. You've seen inner sect disciples flying across the sky on swords, their robes fluttering like immortals, their blades shimmering with light. While the outer disciples stop to gaze up in awe, you feel only admiration, never envy. You know that behind their glory lie countless nights of bitter cultivation, day after day of persistence and sacrifice. It is just like the spirit grass before you, sprouting today, growing leaves tomorrow, weathering the wind and rain until the day it finally blooms. It is like the spirit stream turtle at your feet, unhurried, step by step, yet able to live through 100 long years, and it is like a Chen, appearing talented. Yet behind that talent is the grind of practicing before dawn and the exhaustion of swinging his sword thousands of times. No one's success is won easily. The afternoon hours belong to the sword. The sunlight gradually softens, losing its bite, and the mountain breeze turns crisp and cool. You don't have a sharp magical weapon. You only have the standard iron sword issued by the sect. Its blade is covered in fine scratches, marks left by years of daily practice, but you keep it meticulously clean. You and a Chen head to the outer sect's martial arena. The place is already bustling. An instructor stands in the center, strictly guiding several core disciples through their forms, occasionally stepping in to correct their posture. Other disciples crowd around to watch, letting out bursts of praise. On the benches near the arena, a row of Cloud-Fluff Sparrows has gathered to join the fun. They crouch in a neat little line, their tiny heads turning left and right, following the movement of the swords, their black grape eyes sparkling like a captivated audience. It's a truly precious sight. The moment a Chen enters, he's swept up in the atmosphere. He can't wait to draw his sword and stride into the center of the clearing to begin his practice. He isn't practicing the basic forms. He's working on a simplified fire attribute technique he's been tinkering with. It perfectly suits his fire spirit root. Each swing is powerful, his movements crisp and decisive, full of a fierce, untamed grace. Tiny sparks dance from his fingertips, following the path of his blade, and the sword leaves faint singe marks on the ground, carrying the scorching breath of the fire element. The surrounding disciples couldn't help but whisper in admiration, their eyes filled with envy. Even the Cloud-Fluff Sparrows flapped their wings and let out a string of cheerful chirps, sounding like a tiny audience clapping and cheering him on. A Chen acted like it was no big deal, maintaining an air of total confidence. But out of the corner of his eye, he kept stealing glances at you. There was an unmistakable spark of pride in his gaze. He clearly wanted you to see how skilled he was and was fishing for your approval. Once he finished his set, he pulled his sword back into a standing position, breathing slightly hard. Fine beads of sweat lined his forehead again, but his face was still beaming with triumph. Only then did you pick up your own iron sword and step into the clearing to practice the basic forms. Chop, hack, thrust, parry. You repeated each movement thousands of times, a process that was dry, repetitive, and dull. Your movements were steady, but you lacked power and speed. Compared to a Chen's fierce and fluid style, you looked a bit clumsy, far less dazzling. After watching for a moment, a Chen couldn't help but saunter over. Crossing his arms, he offered his usual merciless critique. You're practicing like you're grinding tofu. No strength, just soft and mushy. If you keep going like this, when are you ever going to break through to the fourth layer? You're just wasting time. Despite his harsh words, his body was much more honest. He stepped forward to manually correct your grip. His palm, carrying the natural warmth of a fire spirit root, gently grasped your wrist. He patiently helped you adjust the pivot point of your wrist and even taught you a little trick, using spiritual energy to drive the blade. His tone remained awkward, tinged with a bit of feigned impatience, but his actions were meticulous, without a hint of carelessness. Your wood spirit root is resilient. You don't need to be rigid and forceful like me. Follow the flow of the energy. Take it step by step. That way, you'll be steadier, and your strength will naturally catch up. You tried practicing the way he taught you. You focused your mind, cleared away stray thoughts, and channeled the thin wisp of wood energy into your fingertips, carefully guiding it into the blade. However, since it was your first time trying this method, your control slipped. The sword move veered off course, heading straight for a nearby wooden training post. Sensing the danger, a Chen instinctively blocked your blade with his own. A crisp clang echoed as the two swords collided. A stray spark from his fingertips brushed against your sleeve. It wasn't hot. Just a fleeting warmth that didn't hurt you. You are so clumsy. You can't even control your own strength. If you don't get better, I am not helping you anymore. He frowned, his voice full of grumbling, yet his hand instinctively reached out to steady your arm, afraid you might lose your balance and fall. In the depths of his eyes, a flicker of genuine worry passed, that tough on the outside, soft on the inside, look of his was truly endearing. Right then, a mischievous Cloud-Fluff Sparrow flew down, catching Chen off guard. It snatched the small fluffy palm from his sword tassel and darted toward the treetops. It paused every few feet to look back and chirp at Chen as if it were teasing him. Hey, you little, you're getting bolder by the day. Chen didn't know whether to be mad or laugh, shaking his head helplessly. He took off after it, sword in hand. His light footsteps showed that his impatience had vanished, replaced by the vivid, spirited energy of youth. You couldn't help but set down your sword and run after him. The martial arena echoed with your laughter and the crisp chirping of the bird, a sound so bright it infected the other disciples watching. Seeing the two of you play, fighting, they couldn't help but burst into laughter themselves. The usually stiff and tense training ground suddenly felt alive, warm, and full of youthful spirit. By the time you caught up, the sparrow had dropped the palm on the ground. It sat on a nearby branch, tilting its head and letting out soft chirps, looking on with innocent curiosity, as if enjoying the joke. Chen sighed and picked up the palm, carefully reattaching it to his tassel. He didn't chase the bird away this time. Instead, he took a grain of spirit rice from his robe, flicked it into the air for the bird, and watched it eat with eyes full of tenderness. During a break, as you sat on the grass, you happened to notice that during Chen's practice, the sparks at his fingertips would flicker wildly whenever he finished a move. His breathing was uneven, his chest heaving slightly, and he even let out a soft cough. It was clear he was rushing his training, causing his spiritual energy to become disordered. You leaned in and asked softly, "Are you pushing yourself too hard? Your breathing is all over the place. If you keep going like this, you'll damage your meridians." Chen froze for a moment and scratched his head, looking a bit embarrassed. His voice softened as he admitted, "Maybe a little. I just want to master the more powerful moves quickly, so I can break through to the fourth layer. I want to get into the inner sect and learn the high-level manuals. I don't want to fall behind everyone else." You smiled and nodded, reaching into your herb basket for a dried leaf of clear heart grass. You had specifically dried these while tending the garden. They were excellent for soothing one's breath and calming a restless mind, and they could even help stabilize disordered energy. You handed it to him. "Chew on this clear heart grass, calms the spirit. Your fire spirit root is already prone to restlessness. If you rush your sword practice, it'll backfire and hurt your meridians. It's not worth the risk." He took the leaf, hesitated for a second, and then began to chew. A faint, refreshing bitterness spread through his mouth and down his throat. Moments later, he took a deep breath, and a look of relief washed over his face. His breathing had indeed smoothed out. "Thanks," he muttered, scratching his head. A faint blush crept onto his cheeks, a rare moment of shyness that was a far cry from his usual stubborn bravado. At that moment, the instructor monk overseeing the sword training walked over, dressed in a cyan Taoist robe. His expression was stern and his gaze sharp as a hawk, sweeping across the disciples before finally settling on you and Chen. He watched your forms and then looked at Chen. After a few seconds of silence, he offered a quiet word of guidance. "Chen, though the fire spirit root is sharp and possesses great explosive power, it abhors impatience. Rushing for success will only lead to disordered energy and a shaky foundation making it difficult to achieve true greatness in the future. Turning to you, the sternness in his eyes softened into a hint of approval. And you, though the wood spirit root is weak and your progress slow, its strength lies in its incredible resilience. Your swordplay is steady, and your foundation is solid. Continue to polish these basics and advance step by step. Growth will surely follow. Next month, inner sect disciples will come to the outer sect to provide guidance. They will select a few disciples with solid foundations and steady temperaments to learn advanced sword forms. Both of you must work hard. Do not squander this opportunity. With that, the instructor turned and left to guide the others. Chen's eyes lit up instantly. He clapped you on the shoulder with newfound excitement, his voice brimming with certainty. Did you hear that? Inner sect guidance? A chance to learn advanced forms? I'm definitely going to be picked. He paused, his tone softening as he looked at you with expectation. You need to practice hard, too. Perfect those basics so we can go together. I'll teach you the advanced moves to help your speed, and you can help me regulate my breathing and calm my mind. What do you say? You smiled and nodded. Your voice gentle. All right, but I'm just an average talent. If I don't practice well, you aren't allowed to scold me. Who's scolding you? Chen turned his face away awkwardly, the tips of his ears flushing a faint red, though he couldn't hide his grin. His voice took on a serious note. How about this? A bet in the next outer sect competition. If I win, you have to save me a few of your best Dew-Condensing Grass plants to help me stabilize my energy. But if I lose, I'll help you tend to the spirit herbs for an entire week. And I'll even find you those rare spirit mushrooms that sprout after the rain. Deal? Deal? You replied, extending your hand with a smile. Chen reached out and gave you a light high. 5, a pact sealed with the hot-blooded sincerity of youth. The Cloud-Fluff Sparrows on the branches seemed to understand. They burst into a chorus of chirps, sounding like tiny witnesses cheering you on. As evening fell, the setting sun dyed half the sky in shades of crimson. A golden afterglow draped over the Qingyun mountains, and the mists were painted a delicate orange, pink. The mountain breeze grew gentle and cool, whisking away the day's lingering heat. You and Chen sheathed your iron swords and walked backside. By side on the bluestone path, your long shadows stretched out far ahead of you. He chattered the whole way, excitedly sharing his dreams of mastering profound sword techniques, flying over the 72 peaks of the Qingyun range, trekking into the deep mountains for rare materials, and eventually reaching a realm of power that few could imagine. You listened quietly with a faint smile, occasionally offering a word of encouragement. Under the sunset, the silhouettes of two youths were vibrantly alive and dazzling. Returning to the Qingyun cabin, you didn't go inside immediately. Instead, you drew a bucket of sweet spring water from the well to water the Dew-Condensing Grass. The regular Cloud-Fluff Sparrows followed you home. They had built a tiny nest in the bamboo grove next to your hut. Now, they spiraled low around you, chirping happily and occasionally landing on the edge of the bucket to take a sip of the clear water. Once you finished, they hopped onto your shoulder, rubbing their soft feathers against your cheek. It felt ticklish, as if they were sharing the little events of their day or acting spoiled to ask for more rice. Chen stood at the gate, arms crossed, quietly watching you interact with the birds. His gaze was tender, stripped of his usual impatience. Only when you turned to look at him did he clear his throat and say, with feigned grumpiness, I am off. I'll come call for you tomorrow morning for sword practice. Don't you dare be lazy and sleep in. All right. Get home safely, and don't practice too late. You waved back, watching his figure slowly disappear down the path, your heart feeling full and warm. Inside the bamboo hut, you lit a small oil lamp. The dim, yellow glow filled the space with a quiet warmth, just enough to illuminate your manual. You sat on the prayer mat and continued to study the basic breath refinement manual. As you read, you recalled the techniques Chen taught you, trying to integrate your breathing with your sword movements, pondering how to make the spiritual energy flow more smoothly during combat. Outside, the rhythmic chirping of insects was crisp and pleasant. The mountain mist began to rise, slowly enveloping the Qingyun cabin. The world grew so quiet that only the sound of your own breathing and the faint hum of spiritual energy remained, still, profound, and beautiful. Occasionally, small joys ripple through the sect, adding a dash of color to an otherwise quiet life of cultivation. There is the monthly junior competition, not a life, and death struggle with unsheathed blades, but a friendly trial of herb cultivation, foundational mantras, and basic sword forms. The winners might only receive an extra bag of spirit rice or a higher quality herb, but these modest rewards provide a wealth of motivation. Then there are the festivals, when the sect master bestows spirit fruits upon every outer disciple. Sweet and bursting with juice, a single bite sends a wave of pure energy down your throat, nourishing your spirit and keeping you in high spirits for days. And then there is the Qingyun mountain after a rainfall. The earth exhales a faint, fresh fragrance, and tiny spirit mushrooms sprout among the trees. These mushrooms, having absorbed the essence of the mountains, are incredibly delicious. You and a Chengo mushroom hunting together to make soup. He's always the fastest to drink his bowl, and though he's clumsy, he insists on helping you wash the mushrooms with an earnestness that's truly endearing. Even the Cloud-Fluff Sparrows join the festivities, soaring across the sky in flocks whenever there's a celebration, leaving behind a trail of crisp chirping, as if they are cheering for everyone. Of course, you encounter small troubles too, the same doubts and setbacks any ordinary person faces. There are times when a forest beast nibbles on the leaves of the spirit herbs you've so carefully nurtured. Seeing the yellowed, damaged plants, your heart aches so much that you squat by the field sighing, reluctant to leave. There are times when you get stuck at the third layer of qi condensation for an entire month, your energy refusing to budge no matter how hard you meditate. Anxiety fills your heart, and there are moments of quiet lostness when you see peers advancing rapidly, leaving you behind, making you wonder if you truly lack the talent for this path, if you are destined to remain in place forever. But whenever these shadows loom, the little creatures and your dear friend are always there to give you strength. The spirit stream turtle will slowly crawl over and gently nudge the back of your hand with its tiny head, a clumsy yet tender gesture of comfort, telling you not to be sad. The Cloud-Fluff Sparrows flutter down to perch on your knees and shoulders, leaning their soft bodies against you and chirping brightly, as if reminding you that it's okay to take it slow. As long as you persist, the harvest will come. Sometimes a Chen drops by. He doesn't offer gentle words or grand philosophies. Instead, he drags you to the martial arena. A good sweat will wash all your worries away, he says with firm conviction. When you're both exhausted, he'll sit with you under the ancient locust tree, watching the turtle crawl and listening to the birds. He might tell you about his own embarrassing blunders, like the time he tripped while rushing a move or sent his sword tassel flying, making you burst into laughter until the heaviness in your heart simply dissolves. As night deepens, the mountains fall silent. The insects grow quiet, leaving only the sound of a soft breeze. You lie on your bamboo bed as the moonlight spills in, gentle, silvery, and bright, resting upon your prayer mat and your manual. Outside the window, the Cloud-Fluff Sparrows have curled into tiny balls of down, sleeping peacefully in their nest, occasionally letting out a soft dream chirp. In the pond, the spirit stream turtle has tucked its head away, basking in the moonlight like a piece of warm green jade. You know that a Chen is likely in his own hut, studying his manual by moonlight or polishing his sword moves, striving for his dreams of cultivation. You have had no world-shaking encounters, found no legendary secret manuals, and met no mythical beasts of old. Your years in the mountains are as quiet as the morning mist and as simple as the herbs before your door. There is no grand epic here, only a peace and warmth that belongs solely to you. Yet, you know, this is the most authentic path to the Tao. Not every cultivator is destined to command the clouds and winds. Not every journey ends in instant godhood. More often, cultivation is the persistence of day after day, the accumulation of drop by drop. It is about keeping a heart true to the Tao amidst the mundane, neither arrogant nor humble, neither rushed nor discouraged. With the greenery as your companion, the little beasts as your kin, and a sincere friend by your side, you walk toward your own horizon, one steady step at a time. Closing your eyes, you follow the ancient mantra and draw in a breath of the mountain's crisp, refreshing qi. It enters your body as a warm current, flowing gently through your meridians and nourishing your very soul. Your heart is filled with a sense of security and anticipation. Tomorrow will be another day of weeding, practicing the sword, reading, and meditating. It will be another day shared with the sparrows, a chen, and the turtle. Ordinary, yes, but brimming with hope and quiet power. And so, you will continue. With this quiet persistence and the strength of the bonds around you, you will walk the paths of Mount Qingyun. No hurry, no rush. Perhaps one day, the dew-condensing grass before your door will bloom with the purest white flowers, radiating a rich spiritual aura. Perhaps one day, the ordinary iron sword in your hand, through years of daily polishing, will become a peerless weapon imbued with your soul. Perhaps one day, your internal energy will swell into a mighty river, breaking through realm after realm to realize your dreams. Perhaps you and Chen will enter the inner sect together, mastering profound techniques and uncovering the secrets hidden deep within the mountains. Perhaps the sparrows will fly with you to higher peaks, and the turtle will witness every stage of your transformation over the long years. But for now, you simply find contentment in this moment. You cherish the peaceful hours in the Qingyun cabin. You treasure every little creature and every sincere friend. You honor these days of steady, grounded progress and the warmth found in the ordinary. Stay true to the time, stay true to yourself, and stay true to the Tao within your heart.